you ever have that feeling? That crawling sensation between your shoulder blades like someone's watching you? It's easy to ignore at first. A trick of the mind. A shadow shifting where it shouldn't. A whisper of air in an empty room. But what if it isn't? What if you're right? I didn't notice it at first. The pattern, the way things started slipping out of place. My name is Daniel Ren. I was a financial analyst at Redmond and Fields, a boutique investment firm in Manhattan. Not one of the big sharks, not a nobody either. I played my part, wore my suit, kept my head down. The job was steady. The pay was good. Not Sebastian Hale good, but enough to afford a decent apartment in Brooklyn and the occasional overpriced whiskey. It was a life, a safe, forgettable life, until it wasn't. The first sign was small, barely worth noticing. A missed email. Not a big deal, right? Except I never missed emails, especially not ones from high-profile clients. This was a market shift warning. Critical. I swore I'd read it, even responded. But the response was gone. No record. Like I'd never sent it. The client lost $500,000. My boss wasn't happy. I spent that night replaying everything, convinced I was losing my mind. Maybe I had forgotten. Maybe I was just tired. Stress does that. Then came the bank alerts. A transaction I didn't remember. Not large, $150 at a steakhouse I'd never set foot in. Fraud? A mix-up? The bank reversed it. But then there was another. This time, a hotel booking under my name. A seedy place in Queens. My stomach twisted when I saw the timestamp, 2:14 a.m. I was home, asleep. Or at least I thought I was. I told myself it was some glitch, a crossed wire in the system. Until the photographs arrived. Thick envelope, no return address. A relic in a world of emails and texts. I opened it with the mild curiosity of a man expecting junk mail. What I found inside turned my blood to ice. A picture of me, sitting at a dimly lit bar. Not my usual place, not anywhere I recognized. My tie was loosened, my sleeves rolled up. I looked drunk, or exhausted, or both. A second photo, me again, this time outside the hotel from the bank alert, standing under the flickering neon sign, staring straight at the camera. I dropped the envelope. My hands were shaking. The photos were dated 3 nights ago, but I had no memory of being there. None. I told myself I wouldn't panic. There was an explanation. Had to be. A mistake, identity theft, something. But deep down I already knew. This was deliberate. This was calculated. And whoever was doing it, they weren't finished. I checked my apartment for cameras, for bugs. Nothing. I changed my passwords, my accounts, my locks. It didn't matter. The next day, another envelope. A single note inside. Handwritten, elegant, precise. You should be more careful with your secrets, Mr. Ren. Accidents happen. I sat at my desk, gripping the paper so hard it crumpled. My heart hammered against my ribs. Someone knew something. Someone wanted me to think I'd done things I hadn't. Or worse, maybe I had. I didn't sleep that night. Not really. I lay in bed staring at the ceiling, listening to the hum of the refrigerator in the next room, the occasional groan of pipes in the walls, the distant wail of a siren far below on the street. Every sound felt amplified, unnatural, like the world itself was pressing in on me, waiting for me to make a mistake. The note sat on my nightstand, the paper still slightly crumpled from where my hands had clenched around it earlier. The words looped in my head, elegant and deliberate, taunting me. You should be more careful with your secrets, Mr. Ren. Accidents happen. I ran through every possible explanation, every angle, every scenario that could make sense. Maybe it was some elaborate scam, identity theft taken to a whole new level. Someone had stolen my credit card information, doctored photos, tried to rattle me. But why? No one targets random finance guys like this. There was no financial gain, no ransom demand, no threats for money. That left something worse. This wasn't about money, it was about control, about making me doubt myself. By dawn, I decided I needed answers, real ones. I wasn't going to sit back and let whoever this was dictate the pace. I wasn't going to keep flinching at shadows. I called in sick to work the first time in 5 years. My boss barely acknowledged it, too wrapped up in morning market shifts to care. Good. That gave me time. I took the train to Queens, the address from the hotel receipt scrawled onto the back of an old business card in my pocket. The ride was long, the car packed with commuters avoiding eye contact, faces buried in their phones. The city blurred by outside, gray and indifferent. The hotel was exactly what I expected, cheap, grimy, the kind of place where people check in with fake names and never look the front desk clerk in the eye. The neon sign buzzed faintly overhead, half the letters burned out. I hesitated before stepping inside, my fingers tightening around the business card like it was a lifeline. The lobby smelled like stale smoke and cleaning chemicals, a sour mix that hit the back of my throat. A woman sat behind the desk, barely glancing up from her magazine when I approached. She looked like she'd seen 1,000 men like me, men who showed up with vague questions and a hint of desperation in their eyes. I slid the card across the counter. I think I stayed here a few nights ago. She chewed her gum slowly, considering. You think? I forced a thin smile, trying to sound casual. I don't remember checking in, but I got a charge on my account. She sighed, turning to an old desktop computer that whirred loudly as she tapped at the keys. The seconds stretched. Too long. Too heavy. Room 214, she said finally, smacking her gum. Checked in at 2 a.m., checked out before sunrise, paid in cash. A cold weight settled in my stomach. You sure it was me? She finally looked up, eyes dull but assessing. You asking if I remember you? I nodded. She shrugged. People come and go, but if you were here, we got cameras. That sent a fresh spike of unease down my spine. Cameras. That meant proof. Can I see the footage? She laughed, short and humorless. We don't keep that stuff. Maybe a day or two, then it's gone. My fingers curled against the counter. What about the night clerk? Someone was here, right? She nodded, already losing interest. Freddie, but he won't remember. You want a room or not? I left without answering, my head buzzing. There had to be something here, some loose thread to pull, but I was running out of time. If the footage was gone, then all I had were the photos. The ones sent to me, the ones showing me standing right outside this place, looking directly at a camera I'd never seen. I stepped out onto the sidewalk, the early morning light feeling too sharp, too bright. My thoughts swirled, pieces of a puzzle that refused to fit together. I had to be missing something, some detail, some clue. Then my phone vibrated in my pocket. A text. No number. No name. Just 6 words. You're looking in the wrong place. I stared at the screen, pulse hammering, throat dry. Then a second text. Check your apartment. Look closer. I didn't go straight home after the text. I told myself I should, that I needed to see whatever was waiting for me. But my body refused to move in that direction. Instead, I walked, through streets that felt too busy, too loud, the crush of people pressing around me like walls shifting inward. My mind kept replaying the message, the cold precision of it, the certainty. Check your apartment. Look closer. It wasn't a threat, not exactly. It was something worse. A promise. Eventually, my feet carried me back to my building in Brooklyn, a pre-war walk-up with aging brick and stairwells that smelled faintly of dust and something metallic. I hesitated before pushing my key into the lock, my fingers slick with sweat despite the chill in the air. The door swung open with the same familiar creak, everything looking exactly as I had left it. The couch, the kitchen counter, the dim light filtering in through half-closed blinds. But now it all felt different. Office-like I was stepping into a carefully reconstructed version of my home, a place where everything was just slightly out of place but not enough for me to name why. My breath came shallow as I scanned the space, my eyes catching on the small details. The stack of mail on the table, the water glass by the sink, the framed picture of my sister on the bookshelf. Look closer. I forced myself to move, slow steps carrying me toward the bedroom. My bed was still unmade, sheets tangled from the restless night before. The note was still on the nightstand, exactly where I had left it, its edges curling slightly. My closet door hung slightly open, not unusual, but somehow it unsettled me now. I stepped toward it, reaching out, the wood cool beneath my fingers as I pulled it open the rest of the way. At first, nothing. The same hanging shirts, the same neat row of shoes, the same worn duffel bag on the floor that I hadn't touched in months. But then, I saw it. Or rather, I felt it first. A shift in the air, a wrongness in the space itself. I crouched down, gripping the edge of the carpet near the back wall, and lifted. A seam, a panel, a part of the floor that wasn't supposed to move. My pulse thundered as I wedged my fingers beneath it, lifting it up to reveal a hollow compartment, small and precise, carved into the floor itself. Inside, a black ledger. I stared, heart hammering, before reaching in and pulling it out. The cover was smooth, expensive leather, unmarked except for the faintest embossed initials in the lower right corner. S.H. Sebastian Hale. My stomach twisted as I opened it, the pages thick beneath my fingers. Names, dates, transactions. Some were scratched out, others underlined. Some I recognized. High-profile investors, old colleagues, people whose names carried weight in places I would never set foot. Others meant nothing to me, and then, on the final page, written in the same precise handwriting as the note I had received, my name, Daniel Ren. A date next to it, 3 weeks from today, and beneath that, a single word, termination. The book slipped from my fingers, landing on the floor with a soft thud. I forced myself to breathe, to think, to understand. This wasn't just blackmail. This wasn't some financial scheme I had stumbled into. This was something deeper, something I wasn't even supposed to know existed. I had been chosen, marked, and I had 3 weeks before whatever was coming reached me. The phone buzzed again. Another text. Now you see, but you don't understand yet. I swallowed hard, my throat dry as I stared at the screen. My hands were shaking. A third text. You're already running out of time. I didn't touch the ledger again for a long time. It lay on the floor, its pages fanned out like an open wound, my name carved into its depths as if I had already been written off, already sentenced to whatever fate awaited those on the last page. My legs felt weak, my body too light, like I was hovering just above reality, untethered, detached. The room seemed smaller now, the walls pressing inward, the air thick with something invisible but heavy, something watching, something waiting. The phone sat beside me on the floor where I had dropped it, the last message still glowing on the screen. You're already running out of time. The words burned into my mind, a pulse beneath my skin, a whisper in the back of my skull that wouldn't stop repeating itself. I had always assumed time was something I had plenty of, that my life would stretch out in predictable patterns, days and weeks and years unfolding in a quiet, steady rhythm. Now I had a deadline, and I didn't even know what it meant. I forced myself to move, to think, to act. Sitting here wouldn't change anything. Waiting wouldn't change anything. Whoever had sent the messages knew I had found the ledger, had wanted me to find it. That meant they were still watching. That meant I had to be careful. But careful how? I was already drowning in a game I didn't understand, and every second that passed, the rules shifted further beyond my reach. I picked up the ledger again, forcing myself to study the pages with steady hands, scanning the entries, looking for a pattern, a thread that would make sense of the chaos unraveling around me. The names were powerful, wealthy, men and women who had built empires from numbers and secrets, people who didn't just disappear, until they did. The dates next to their names painted a grim picture, each one marked with an outcome: bankruptcy, public scandal, suicide, suicide, suicide. The word repeated itself like a mantra, an echo of destruction left in neat, methodical handwriting. I wasn't the first. I wasn't even close. Sebastian Hale. The name coiled in my mind like a snake, smooth and silent, watching, waiting. I had never met the man personally, but I had heard the stories. He was an institution, a myth among the financial elite, a presence that existed in the shadows of every major deal, every quiet collapse, every inexplicable rise and fall of fortunes. He didn't operate in boardrooms. He didn't need to. His power was something quieter, something more insidious. He didn't destroy with force. He unraveled people. And now, he had set his sights on me. I closed the ledger, gripping it tightly as I stood, my breath slow and even, my mind already trying to find a way out. The police? What would I even tell them? That I had found a hidden book filled with names of dead men. That someone was sending me cryptic messages, manipulating my bank account, leaving me photographs I couldn't remember taking. They would write it off as paranoia, dismiss it as some elaborate scam or delusion, and maybe I would have believed that too once. But not anymore. Not after this. I needed proof. Real proof. If Hale had set me on this path, if I was already moving toward whatever termination meant, then I had to understand why. What did he know? What had he found? I had never done anything illegal, never taken risks beyond the ones required in my field. But secrets were dangerous things, and sometimes the worst ones weren't the ones we hid from others. They were the ones hidden from us. The thought hit me like a punch to the gut. What if there was something I had forgotten? The hotel, the photographs, the missing emails. My life had already started shifting without me noticing, the edges fraying, the pieces rearranging themselves into a picture I didn't recognize. If I had already lost time, if I had already done things I didn't remember, then what else had slipped through the cracks? My laptop sat on the desk in the corner of the room, the screen dark, waiting. I moved toward it, hands steady despite the pulse hammering in my skull. If I wanted answers, I had to start somewhere. I powered it on, opening my email, my banking statements, combing through every transaction, every detail, searching for anomalies, searching for him. And then I saw it. An email, buried under the usual flood of work notifications dated 2 weeks ago. The sender's name was unfamiliar. Just an initial, a last name, nothing remarkable. But the subject line sent a fresh spike of ice down my spine. You should have ignored it. I clicked it open, my breath catching in my throat. No text. No explanation. Just an attachment. A video file. I hesitated, every instinct screaming at me to stop, to walk away, to shut the laptop and pretend I had never seen it. But I couldn't. Not anymore. I clicked play. The screen flickered to life, the image grainy at first, dark, indistinct. Then, clarity. A hotel room, cheap furniture, a bed. A man sitting at the edge, his face buried in his hands, shoulders hunched. He looked up and my stomach plummeted. It was me. Disheveled, eyes hollow, suit wrinkled like I had been wearing it for days. The timestamp in the corner placed it at the same night as my supposed hotel stay. I watched as I reached into my jacket pocket, pulled out a folded piece of paper, and smoothed it onto the table in front of me. The camera angle wasn't perfect, but I could just make out the words printed on it. A bank account, a set of instructions, a sum of money that made my head spin. And then, in the video, I did something that made my blood run cold. I picked up a pen, and I signed my name. The video ended. I sat there staring at the screen, my entire body frozen. I had no memory of this. None. But I had signed something important, something that had sealed my fate. I didn't move for a long time. My body felt like it had turned to stone, heavy and unresponsive. My breath shallow, my mind a blank, useless thing that refused to make sense of what I had just seen. The video kept playing in my head on an endless loop, every detail sharp and undeniable. The cheap hotel room, the paper with its quiet threat, my own hand scrawling a signature across the bottom like a man signing his own death warrant. I could almost feel the weight of the pen in my fingers, but no matter how hard I tried, I couldn't summon a single memory of that night. Not the room, not the document, not even the way my own face had looked, hollow and lost, staring at something I had clearly understood in that moment, but that was now completely erased from my mind. I forced myself to breathe, to think, to act. Panic was useless now. Fear wouldn't stop whatever was coming. I didn't know what I had signed, but I knew what it meant. Sebastian Hale had pulled me into his orbit, had orchestrated every single step without me even realizing. He had erased time from my life, rewritten my own history without me noticing, and now the final piece was falling into place. My name was in his ledger, marked for termination, and I had just seen the proof that I had played a part in my own undoing. The phone rang. The sound shattered the silence like a gunshot, jolting me back into my body, back into the room that no longer felt like mine. The screen lit up with an unknown number, the glow casting long shadows across my desk, making everything feel distorted, unreal. I swallowed hard, staring at it, knowing exactly who it would be before I even answered. I pressed the phone to my ear, my hand gripping it too tightly. "Mr. Ren," a voice said, smooth, confident, completely at ease, as if this was nothing more than a routine call. "I see you've been doing some digging." Sebastian Hale. His name hadn't been spoken, but it didn't need to be. The voice carried the weight of a man who never needed to introduce himself, a man who owned every conversation the moment it began. "What do you want?" My own voice felt distant, weaker than I wanted it to be. There was a pause, just long enough for me to feel it, to understand it. He wasn't answering because he was deciding how much I needed to know, because he was enjoying this. "You already know the answer to that," he said finally, the warmth in his tone almost mocking. "Debts must be paid, Mr. Ren, and yours is overdue." I gritted my teeth, the fear threatening to rise again, to choke me. "I don't remember signing anything. I don't even know what I agreed to." Another pause, another quiet second of control. "But you did agree, didn't you?" he said, and it wasn't a question. "You sat in that room, you looked at the terms, and you signed your name. I didn't force your hand, Mr. Ren. You chose." A fresh wave of nausea rolled through me because he was right. I had seen myself do it. Whatever had happened that night, however he had manipulated me into it, I had played my part. And now, there was no taking it back. "What did I sign?" I forced the words out, my voice quieter now. "What happens next?" This time there was no hesitation, no amusement, just the cold, simple truth. "You disappear." The words settled in my chest like lead, sinking deeper, pressing harder. "It's nothing personal," Hale continued, his voice as smooth as ever. "You had potential, but you got in too deep. You saw too much. And unfortunately, once a name enters my ledger, there's no erasing it. But don't worry, Mr. Ren. You won't suffer. My methods are clean, efficient. The only real question is how much time you have left." I was already shaking my head, my grip tightening on the phone, my pulse a rapid, desperate thing. "You think I'm just going to sit here and wait for you to—" "No," he interrupted, and his voice was softer now, almost pitying. "I think you're going to run. They always do at first. But it won't matter." The call ended. Silence filled the room again, but now it was suffocating, pressing in from all sides. My mind was racing, running through every possible escape, every angle, every path that didn't end with my name crossed out in that black ledger. I could disappear, change my identity, get on a plane, and vanish before he could reach me. But even as the thoughts formed, I already knew the truth. Hale had done this before, many times. and not a single person on that list had made it out. I had no proof, no allies, no way to fight back against a man who owned the game before I even knew I was playing. And maybe that was the most terrifying part. Not the idea that he would find me, not even the certainty that he would win, but the knowledge that somehow I had helped him do it. The walls of my apartment felt smaller now, like they were closing in. I could still see the ledger lying open on the floor, my name written in careful, deliberate ink, the date, the word, termination. I grabbed my jacket, my mind already making the decision my body had been resisting. I didn't have a choice anymore. I had to move. I had to run. Maybe it wouldn't matter. Maybe Hale was right. But I had to try. The city outside was cold, the streets filled with people who didn't know that. Somewhere above them, in some quiet office filled with old money and quiet power, a man like Sebastian Hale was rewriting the fate of those who thought they were untouchable. I pushed through the crowd, my breath sharp in my lungs, my heart a steady drumbeat of fear and urgency. The ledger had been closed on me. My time was running out. And somewhere hidden in the shadows of this city, I knew someone was already watching, waiting.